Alright, so I'm doing another PM, and basically almost every store I go to, they're complaining. They're like, oh, thank God you're here. It's so hot. Like, I don't know why they're not putting in the calls, but I got 2 ACs here, 2 carriers, and this one's working fine. I'm still gonna clean it though and check everything. I think that one has a loose belt. That's the one for the kitchen that they're complaining about. And come over here, so we got a lot of cold air. This is nothing but cold air, and this is their exhaust. It should be taking out all the heat and you know, smoke and stuff. So since we're working on the kitchen AC, it does have for outside air, but it's completely shut. So I don't know how long it's been like that, since this place does not have, and it doesn't even have a filter. I might need a filter. So it's never been used, I guess, but they said it's been like that for years, and I guess they just had to deal with it. Like I said, I don't know why they haven't called it in, because we've had them for a little while. I'm just here doing maintenance, so normally they would have a makeup air attached to their exhaust, at least at other all their other locations, but they do not. And this is just for a dining room, so this one doesn't even have the outside air set up for it. Other than that, they're cooling fine. So like I said, I'll probably tighten the belt on this one, open up our outside air, and when you have cold air coming out of your exhaust, at least a lot of it, because this is all the AC air, I can feel it, you're not balanced right. So you got to make sure you're bringing in air if you're taking out any of it, you know. If you take out air, you got to bring back in air, and we're not bringing any outside air. Pre-rinse. And I'm trying this out because I actually broke my gun over there. Not ideal, but gotta get some cleaner in there. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, man, but that was a workout there. He only gives you like a little stream, not really foaming up too much, but I got it in there, and we can clean it now. Getting all the big stuff out, all the leaves, big clumps, so we can clean. Leave it better than you found it. Right, Steve? That's something that everything HVACR always says. So clean it up. You gotta check electrical, check those contactors. And, oh yeah, I gotta open up the makeup air, and then we'll go in here. I gotta tighten this belt, I believe. Yeah, I'll tighten that up for him. Maybe I can brush this. All right, so we're good now. Tension wise, everything seems fine, considering how old it is. we got makeup air. So I'm gonna leave it there for now, and I'll go check my temp difference, see how much air we got and all that. Hopefully we balanced it out there. This one's pretty bad too. Let's get her clean. And yes, this is a double row, so we got the inside clean. On a service call, I'm not really doing that, like if I'm doing a repair. But if you're gonna clean it, you know, this doesn't take too much time, or if you have a PM, that doesn't take much to do. Now, like I said, this is a double row, so I'll take it off right now. Usually for me, they're never plugged up. So if it's not, I'm just gonna rinse it down the middle, separate it a little bit, and just make sure we get a good deep clean. But like I said, they don't usually get plugged up for me. If it is plugged up, then I'll run cleaner in there and all that, but if not, I'll just rinse them out. And I gotta get back to that one, make sure that one's working. Belt was the same as that one, loose. They're gonna need a new one, so I'll make a note of that. And get some, because they didn't have any spares in there. So, take care of that. I still gotta rinse off here. And like I said, get back to that one. Alright, on that one, the AC unit, we do have a makeup air issue. Now, I don't think they're going to want to put in a makeup air system, because there is another location that has an issue with their makeup air, and they haven't chosen to replace it or redo it. So I'm not sure that they're going to approve that for this location. On the damper, the outside air damper, I did just slightly open it for like minimum air. I was gonna open all the way, but that's not gonna work out, so we did minimum air on that, and it did help a lot. Well, I told them your exhaust is taking out air, and we're not putting any back in the building. That's very crucial. If you work in kitchens, you have exhaust, and you need air coming back in, whether it's through a makeup, like a dedicated makeup air system, or your dampers on your rooftop units, economizers, you know, stuff like that. So if you take air out, you got to bring air back in. So I told them, like, have you ever noticed your door when you come in is very hard to open? They have a negative pressure in the building. So once I did the damper thing, it did kind of balance out. That you could tell with the door right away. It wasn't that hard to open. And they're like, oh yeah, and that it's been like that for a little while, or for years. But that it used to cool. So I was like, okay. When I open the damper, it's just a little, and I had trouble with it. It's just a little pin type of pin and spring that you like pull it out and then put it where you want to and then let it go. It could have very easily have fallen to the closed position because that spring is already like rusted out. It's not holding that well. So maybe at some point it was open, and with our weather, we have a lot. This side has a lot of really bad wind because they're getting closer to the ocean, the Gulf over here. Could have been open and shut over time. Something with the wind knocked it over or something. So I told them just keep an eye on the temperature. But you could feel the difference already. And yeah, I don't know what they're gonna want to do. I told them the only other thing we can do, because we're not an air balancing company and I don't really get into that kind of stuff. But what I've done for them at a different location is I don't believe that this particular franchise, and it could happen anywhere, they tend to go with the cheapest bid. Now, we don't do new construction, installation, like doing the whole heat loads, sizing the system. We don't do any of that. We're service, really, and we got into like swapping out systems. So we just make sure that they're the right tonnage for the area and stuff like that. But like, we don't do new construction stuff, so I don't know what happens when those bids go out, but I feel like they've gotten a lot of probably cheap bids on those, and the systems aren't sized right, or they're not installed right. Because at another location, and I'll try and show the video right now because I don't think it was enough footage for like its own video. So basically, we had a store that got really hot in the kitchen also, but this store has the makeup air system with their exhaust. They have 2 well-sized units, rooftop units. They're carriers, they work well. There's no issues with the systems that I saw. So I got into the attic area, and what we found was, or it was pretty obvious it was pretty obvious before, because like, what, I got ahead of myself. The back room got very cold, so it was set to like, I think they always set them to like 70 or 72, and I dropped it to, I think 65 or whatever it goes down to, and it got to 65. So that thermostat does not have a sensor. So that system has like a few vents in the kitchen. So when that thermostat in the back satisfies, and it's reading the back room that is like extremely cold, and there's nobody there back there or anything, it's just a big open area for like their drinks and stuff that they store away, their office area too, they have a desk there. It satisfies so quick, so it shuts off half the vents in the kitchen. The front AC is by the front door, and it's very hot in the front door anyway, so that thing's always running. But that front AC only handles the front where people walk in to order, and there's no dining room, so it's just where they order, and like a couple of vents in the cashier type of area where they get the food and stuff. So I'm like, well, that's not gonna work, because your back AC, no matter what you set it to, and I set it to 65 to help them, and it did help them, but throughout the day it would actually satisfy at 65 because it was so cold in the back room. And I was like, that's not gonna work. We can put a sensor for you, but that back room's gonna be freezing, like if it's running all day. So not installed right whatsoever. So then I told them, let me look in your attic, and maybe we can steal some of the vents from the back room and feed your kitchen, because your kitchen is extremely hot. It's like high 90s. And my dad actually went back and forth with me, and that's why I like bouncing ideas off of him. He doesn't do HVAC or refrigeration, but like, we just know how to fix things. So like, when I talk to him, we figure, we usually figure something out. So he's like, why don't we close up some of the vents towards the very, very back, and you'll get more volume, air volume, pressure in the kitchen vents. So I was like, you know what, that's worth a shot. That's easy to do. You just they were a flexible duct, so we just closed them up, we capped them, and I think we did 3 because the back room had so many vents. It was stupid the way they put this system in, and they thought it was going to work like that. pizza oven and heat lamps where they keep the food, so it's very hot, or a lot of heat load. So we did that. It felt better. I put a sensor anyway by the kitchen, new thermostat with a sensor, and I thought it felt better because also they have a make line cooler, a Randall prep cooler where they keep the condiments, and it's always open. That thing wasn't keeping temp and it was overheating in the kitchen because it was like 90 something degrees. So a lot of issues caused by their AC layout. So then whatever, he said he closed it, the work order, is that it felt fine. I was just checking temps, everything was fine, and then I ended up going back like a week later just to follow up. Big difference, guys. Like their kitchen might have been high 70s, but it was very comfortable, and you could feel in the front just the cold air because that front AC didn't have to work as hard, and it could cool the front now. So sometimes, like if your ACs are working, like you just gotta check, you know, your pressures, your delta T's, your differences in temperature, and you know, your belts or little things like that. And if everything checks out, then you gotta make sure that the layout's right, your tonnage is right, all that. So I've been running into a lot of AC systems that are not done right. There's another one that I mentioned in another video that I couldn't really do anything, but they only had 2 split systems, 2 small ones. And I'm not sure if the building was converted to a restaurant. It might have been an office before. But their makeup air was, and I didn't notice it because I didn't check the makeup air. I went for something else. I think they had an overflowing drain pan for their AC that was making it turn off. But our coworker went out and he's like, you know what I found? I found the makeup air and exhaust is installed backwards. Now I personally don't install those, so I don't know exactly what he means. But I understood because he told me, well, if you look at it downstairs in the kitchen, where you would expect it to be exhausting the air out, it's throwing air down, and where you would see the makeup air vents, that's what's throwing the air out. So he's like, they got it backwards. And I think my dad talked to a company that does that because we don't want to do that. They, I guess, quoted us to kind of remove it and reinstall it, and it wasn't cheap, so they don't want to do it. So that area gets hot because it's not blocking off and separating the oven from the rest of the kitchen, and that's not doing the makeup and exhaust that it should. If your makeup or exhaust is not working, that heat from the oven goes everywhere. That kind of contains it and deals with all your smoke and heat in one. So we'll see what they decide here. We might come back and do what I did for the other one. I told them I could take some of the vents from your back, because the back here, they don't really have a back room like the other one, but the vents along the back get very cold. So I told them we could probably do the same thing and just kind of steal and give you some more air in the kitchen. Not by the pizza oven, so it doesn't get sucked up. But we can do something in the meantime while they decide if they want to get the makeup air. Because I don't know how they're going to do it without a makeup air. It's a to me, they would need a makeup air, because that kitchen it should have makeup air by the exhaust there. But they're not that far off.